And Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's so nice to be with you tonight. And by way of introduction, this is Cantor Stephanie Green. She was with us last week. She is with us tonight. And maybe there's some other times that we're going to need to substitute, and Stephanie will be here stepping up. Thank you very much. We have two other important, and also most of you have met our rabbinic intern, student Rabbi Jules Ilian. If you haven't met her yet, please take an opportunity to do that. We have two other special guests with us tonight. One of them is Cantor Michal Gray-Schaefer, who just out of retirement and has not been able to be with us on Friday nights for many years. How many? 13? But is here tonight, so welcome. And Alex Zisman, who is married to Jules Ilian, so welcome to you too. And also, so I'd like to invite candlelighters, Dana and Barbara, and we turn to page 2 in our prayer books. Amen.
Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you. We turn to page 24. Shalom Aleichem. We welcome in the Shabbat messengers of peace.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharit, Malachei Elyon. Mimelech, Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mimelech, Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yay, lay, lay, 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 yay, 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 lay, 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 yay, lay, yay, lay, lay, lay. Barchuni l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mimelech, Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzidchem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mimelech, Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yay, lay, lay, 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 lay.
Continuing with Kabbalat Shabbat, we turn to page 12, the top of the page, the beginning of Psalm 95, L'chune Ranana.
God, maker of all, sure and strong. Let all of creation, from mountain to sea, hear our song. L'chuni ranina, lai, 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 God's light, we rejoice. So now let us listen with all of our hearts to hear God's voice. L'chuni ranina, lai, 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 l'Adonai, lai, lai.
From Psalm 96, the beginning of the psalm, it's right opposite where we just were on page 13.
Shiru l'Adonai, kol ha'aretz. Shiru l'Adonai, shir chadash. Shiru l'Adonai, kol ha'aretz. Shiru l'Adonai, shir chadash. Sing unto God, all the earth, a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God, and we'll sing along, all the earth a new song unto God. Shiru l'Adonai, kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai, shir chadash. I will sing unto God a new song.
We continue on page 20 with Lecha Dodi. Be singing paragraphs 1, 2, 5, and 9. When we get to paragraph 9, we rise, we turn to the door, and we greet the Shabbat presence.
Lecha Dodi, likra kala, pene Shabbat, nikabela. Lecha Dodi, likra kala, pene Shabbat, nikabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, hishmi'anu Ramei Yuchad, Adonai Echad, U'Shemo Echad, B'Shem Tiferet V'Litila, Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, Pnei Shabbat, Nikabela. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, Pnei Shabbat, Nikabela. Likrat Shabbat, Lichuv Leilcha, Ki Mekar HaBaracha, Mirosh Mikedem Nesuchat, Sof Maaseh V'Machshava Techila. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, Pnei Shabbat, Nikabela. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, Pnei Shabbat, Nikabela. Itoreri, Ki Vorech Kumi Ori, Uri, Shidaberi, Ki Vor Adonai Alaich Nigla. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, Pnei Shabbat, Nikabela. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, Pnei Shabbat, Nikabela. Bo'i v'shalom atar ba'ala, gam b'simcha u'v'tzom ola, toch emunei am sigula. Bo'i chala, Bo'i chala. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, Pnei Shabbat, Nikabela. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, Pnei Shabbat, Nikabela.
Please don't sit down quite yet. Take a moment to wish one another Shabbat Shalom. Maybe introduce yourself to someone that you haven't met before. We'll continue. Page 22. Page.
Mizmor shir liyom haShabbat, Mizmor shir liyom haShabbat, Tov lehodot l'Adonai, u'lezamer l'shimcha elyon, lehagid b'boker chasdecha, ve'emunacha b'leilot, Ali Asor ve'ali Novel, Ali Gayon b'chinor, lehagid b'boker chasdecha, ve'emunacha b'leilot, Ali Asor ve'ali Novel, Ali Gayon b'chinor, Tzadikat Amar Yifrach, Ka'erez ba'Levanon Yizkeh, Shitulim beveit Adonai, b'chatzrot Eloheinu yafrihu, oninu v'una b'seiva, d'shenim v'roinanim iyu, lehagid ki yasha Adonai, Tzuri v'lo avlatabo.
We conclude Kabbalat Shabbat on page with Chetzi Kaddish on page 26.
Yitkadal v'yitkadal shemei Rabba, ve'omad divrachute ve'omlich malchute, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayid echol beit Yisrael, bagala, bagala, u'v'yizman kariv v'yimeru. Yehei Shmei Rabba Mivorach, Le'olam Ulol Me'al Maya, Yitbarach, Yitbarach v'yishtabach, V'yitpa'ar v'yitrama v'yitnaseh, V'yitadai v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, Shmei Dekudesha Brichu, Le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata, Tush bechata v'nechemata, Damiran be'alma v'yimeru.
Please rise as you're able for Baruch, page 28.
Yai lai lai, yai lai yai lai, yai lai lai yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai yai lai lai lai, yai lai yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai yai lai. Barichu et Adonai hamivorach. Baruch Adonai
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim v'chochma poteach she'arim v'tvuna mishaneh itim u'machalif et hazmanim u'misader et hakochavim v'mishmerotea barakia kertzono borei yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or.
ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב ערבים.
Turning the page, we read together. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai, our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel.
Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
You may be seated. We continue on page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך יום על לבביך, ושילנתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, הייתם קדושים אלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
On page 39, standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternal Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, and together, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Continue on the top of page 40 with Micha Mocha.
Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Adonai? Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nehedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, oh seifele, nora tehilot, oh seifele. Who is like you, ונאמר כבראנו את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
Page 42, Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu Lichaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu Lichaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu Lichaim. V'hamidenu Shomreinu Lichaim. Ushmor tzitenu v'vonu l'chaim u'l'shalom me'ata ve'ad olam. Baruch ata Adonai ha'porei sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim.
We have that image of Sukkot Shalom, a shelter of peace in our hearts and in our mind. We turn to Misha Berach on page 253. In the Hashkiveni, we ask God to protect us in our most vulnerable times, times of unknowing or the times of pain, times of loneliness. And while we're in that sort of frame of mind, we think of those in our community, our family, our friends who are in need of healing, healing of body, healing of spirit. This Misha Berach begins with a blessing for all of us, which we have an opportunity to think about what is it that we need in our lives right now to make our lives a blessing. We'll pause and share the names of those in need of healing. We'll let you add more names, and even when we have that very long list, we understand that there are so many others whose names we don't know who are in need of healing and need of our good thoughts. And so then when we do all that, we'll continue with the last paragraph. So beginning together in the middle of page 253.
Misha Berach avotenu mikol habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage and let us say, Amen.
We hold in our hearts for healing Ellen Apple, Julie Arnheim, Peggy Boone, Alex Botkin, Jimmy Broff, Jerry Chesson, Chuck Davis, Eileen Davis, Joanne Mandel DeWitt, Amanda Goldstein, Danielle Harrison, Kate Can, Naum Kaplan, El Camper, Eitan Klausner, Tony Linder, Sally Littman, Lois Michaels, Laura Marshak, Hal Mendlowitz, Ellen Newberg, Susan Rosen, Bud Roth, Charles Rosenblum, Cheryl Sachs Dowling, Rabbi Bert Schumann, Benjamin F. Siegel, Rabbi Jonathan Stein, David Wallach, Jonathan Wind, Kayla Wright, James J.H. Yee, Hindasara Bat Chana Pearl, Ermatia Shulamit Bat Miriam, Chava Gitel Bat Toiba, Shlomo David Ben Tova. Any other names for Misha Barak tonight?
David Setz. Patrick Berger. Edward Klein.
Continue with the second paragraph of Misha Barak.
Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Continue on page 44 with Vashamru.
V'shameru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש.
We come now to the tefillah, which begins on page 46 with an opening meditation. After we do that together, we'll continue on our own, either with the Hebrew or the English or the words of your own hearts. And when you're finished, please be seating. That goes through page 60. Please rise as you are able.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. והגיון ליבי לפניך, יהיו לי רצון אמרי פי, והגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי וגואלי. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי וגואלי. יהיו לי רצון אמרי פי, והגיון ליבי לפניך. יהיו לי רצון אמרי פי, והגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי וגואלי. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי וגואלי. יהיו לי רצון אמרי פי, והגיון ליבי לפניך. יהיו לי רצון אמרי פי, והגיון ליבי לפניך.
Grief comes to us in waves, rushing over us when we least expect it. We find grief in the back of closets, piles of worn-out sweaters, on grocery store shelves, sitting among the boxes of discount cake mix, hidden underneath the papers on our desk. And when grief finds us, wherever we are left shocked and stunned, overwhelmed in the most surprising of ways. Sometimes grief is so heavy, it feels as though we cannot bear the weight of it. Other times, we are angry or frustrated, feeling guilty, perhaps even relieved. In this week's Parsha Chukat, both Miriam and Aaron die. It is Miriam who dies first, leaving the community at a loss for how to proceed. Throughout their time traversing the wilderness, it is Miriam's gift that she is followed by a wellspring of water for everyone to drink. Her presence, she sustained the people. She was their life force. Now that Miriam has died, the people have no water. In the face of grief, pain, and fear, they do the only thing that they can think to, which is to call out to God for help. Like the Israelites, for many of us, when we are grieving the loss of a loved one, we turn to prayer. It can feel comforting to have somewhere to focus our feelings. Prayer helps us connect to our own selves as well as our community. Grief often causes us to behave in ways that we wouldn't usually. In response to the Israelites' cries for water, God tells Moses and Aaron to gather the community together around a rock and then to ask the rock to flow with water. And upon asking, the rock would open up and flow with enough water for all of the people and the animals to drink. Moses did gather all of the people as God had told Moses to do, but he spoke unkindly to them. Perhaps in that moment, wrapped over his own grief for the death of his sister, Moses did not have the emotional capacity to address the feelings of those around him. Moses said to them, "Listen now, you rebels, we will get water for you from this rock." Grief, for many, can come in forms of anger or frustration. Anger over what could have been, anger that now we have to take on the tasks that were once our loved ones' responsibility, anger that they left us with such pain. So Moses, in anger and frustration, instead of asking the rock for water, hits the rock twice. Because, although we are grieving, our actions still have consequences. Moses is told by God that the consequences for his hitting the rock instead of asking for the water was that now he too would not be able to enter the promised land of which he'd come so close to. When we are feeling lost in the chaos of grief, we can find comfort that our Jewish tradition gives us a framework for how to proceed. We have a prescribed system for mourning, and while grief is not linear, having a clear path can help us to work through our feelings. The first step in grieving is the period of aninut. It is the time between the death of the loved one and lasts until they are buried. During this time, we have no expectations of the mourner. We allow them to feel the initial shock of grief. Their only obligation is to attend to the details of preparing a funeral. While a mourner is an aninut, it is customary not to share with them condolences quite yet. We do not want to burden them with having to figure out how to respond. Instead, we care for the mourner by doing what we can to support them in those first hours. This may mean making a phone call, running to the dry cleaners, picking up groceries so they do not have to worry about eating, or just sitting with them and offering a hug or a shoulder to cry on. Following the funeral, mourners transition into the next stage of grief, which is Shiva, and lasts for 7 days. During this time, mourners are surrounded by friends and family in their home. They are brought food, and people often hold a Shiva minyan or prayer service so that the mourners can say Kaddish each evening. There's a beautiful midrash that explains why we sit Shiva in our homes for 7 days. It says that following the burial, the soul is a little bit confused. It doesn't yet know where it's supposed to be, and so it goes back and forth from the grave to the home of the mourner. By going to the home of the mourner, they see their loved ones comforted and they hear stories. They know that they're memorably passed on and that the people that they so cared for will continue to be cared for, even in their absence. And so it gives comfort to the soul to do this. And during the Shiva period, at the end of it, we have this tradition of walking around the block to acknowledge this fundamental change and to acknowledge that now we're exiting and entering the world, and it's going to be different, but here we are, and we're ready to move forward to the next step, which is the stage of Shloshim, and it lasts for 30 days following the death of a loved one. As we enter that stage of mourning, we begin to work on new ways in which our life has changed, the decisions that need to be made. The tradition of observing Shloshim comes from this week's Torah portion. When Aaron died, it is said that all of Bnei Yisrael wept for 30 days. Seeing that the whole community cried for Aaron, we can find comfort in knowing that crying is a normal part of grieving. And although it may feel vulnerable, crying allows us to express our deep feelings of loss. While traditional mourners are parents, spouses, siblings, children of the deceased, and more recently Reformed Judaism has also included step-family and grandparents and grandchildren among these categories, we may not fit into these roles, and yet we can still feel a deep sense of loss. When someone dies, it alters our world. All of the tens of thousands of people of Bnei Yisrael cried when Aaron died. During the first year following the death of a loved one, marked at the end by the observation of Yartzeit, or the anniversary of death, it's traditional to attend synagogue every day to say Kaddish. There are obligations to say the Kaddish prayer with a minyan, or 10 Jewish adults present. By ensuring that the mourner must go and be a part of community to say Kaddish, we're able to notice where they are, to support what their needs are, to see how they're doing, to check in on them. And while their grief may not be as intense as these initial week or 30 days, we still know that they are hurting and they are trying to figure out and navigate this new world. The first year after loss, everything is different. There's holidays, there's trying to figure out all the details, like whose name is on the electric bill. There's dealing with what they left behind, the piles of books, the clothes, etc. And so, as the mourners say Kaddish, it's a reminder to us, the community members, to check in, see how they're doing, that we can still offer to help them. It's so easy to forget after a few months that people still need our help, but saying things, as Rabbi Henry recently reminded me, like, I'm going to Giant Eagle, what can I pick up? Or have the afternoon off, can I help you sort through some mail? These small acts of kindness, although they may not mean much to you, make a big difference to the mourner. We can show them that they're not alone. I recently attended an event at Erev Shalom on grief. I know several of you were there as well. And I was struck by one of the speakers, Ellen Frise-March, what she shared. She told us that on average, it takes a person 2 to 7 years to feel truly like themselves again after the death of a loved one. This reminder is a crucial one. To paraphrase what Ellen said, in the first year of loss, give yourself permission to do whatever you need to do to go on. And then, after the first year, give yourself the same permission next year. So I appreciate this gentle approach to grief. Many of us are used to taking care of those around us, and we don't make enough time for ourselves. It's helpful hearing that it's okay to put our needs first during this time. We all need different ways of processing our grief. For many of us, therapy or support group may prove helpful. Others may turn to exercise. What Ellen affirmed for us is that it's crucial to get outside and get moving a little bit if you're able to. The science has shown that it's really beneficial, even just a short walk. For others, meditation, writing, reading, or doing art can give us an opportunity to process our feelings, giving ourselves permission to feel joy again. My own grandmother, in response to my grandfather's death, said, when the going gets tough, the tough go shopping. Finding healthy ways to process healing is important. An acknowledgement that our grief does not end after the first year of loss, Jewish tradition gives us the opportunity to honor our loved ones' memory with Kaddish on the anniversary of their death each year, as well as 4 Yizkor services throughout the year. We can light a yahrzeit candle. We can tell stories about our loved ones, both on these special days and throughout the year. When I'm teaching, I like to wear a sweater that belonged to my husband's grandmother, Naomi. She taught for many years in the New York City public school system, so I like to believe that when I wear her sweater, it brings me a little bit of her teaching prowess in my own classroom. We can share stories, and we can sing songs, and we can discuss their life's work. What did they value? What did they care about? What made them special? When a family member dies, our family is fundamentally changed. It can take a long time to negotiate our new roles. Everything's different now. We have new responsibilities, and this loss is uncharted territory. In this week's Parsha, we see that after the death of Aaron, his son Eliezer took upon himself Aaron's role as high priest. I can only imagine how complex that must have been for Eliezer. He was filled with hope for the future, feelings of great loss over his father, and a fear of being able to fulfill this newfound tremendous role. As Ellen Frise-March refers to in her talk, the problems that may come up after the death were referred to as secondary problems, which are ones that unexpectedly impact our lives. Now we need to decide who hosts Passover Seder, who does the laundry, who watches the children, who is able to financially provide to keep the house afloat. Reestablishing roles also means figuring out now who the family peacemaker is and who's going to stop the problems before they ensue, or perhaps we're filled with relief when someone in the family who is hurtful passes away, and now we have to negotiate that feeling of relief and maybe some guilt, and acknowledging that we aren't going to get closure in the ways that we had hoped for. Ellen Frise-March also showed us, attending the lecture, a chart that has stuck with me. On one side is what we expect grief to look like. It's a nice little line, very neat and tidy, and the other is what grief is. It's all jumbled up lines everywhere, emotions here, there. It's not linear, it's not clean, it's not tidy, and that's okay. It's important to give ourselves kindness and compassion during these times of loss, when we care about our loved ones and we miss them and we're navigating these emotions and these challenges. We can take a moment to give ourselves permission to feel those feelings. Life's complex. If you take anything from my sermon tonight, take this. Support the people in our communities who are grieving. Give them kindness, compassion, and a listening ear. Know that grief does not follow a prescribed set of rules, and remember that crying is healthy. Even the people in the Torah cried. And if you are grieving, I invite you to reach out for help as you need it. Treat yourself with kindness and know that while you will never stop missing the person that you love, one day you will feel a little better. And by sharing their memory with those around you, you can find comfort in knowing that they will always be with you. Thank you, and Shabbat Shalom. We continue now with the Aleinu prayer, which can be found on page 282. Please rise. When I die, give what's left of me away to the children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arm around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. We continue now with the Mourner's Kaddish, our prayer. And in this Mourner's Kaddish prayer, we should acknowledge as well that it doesn't ever talk about death. It talks about God. And we use it to remember we're supporting our mourners here. So today we are thinking about Toby Smith. We are also acknowledging the yahrzeit of Anna Bilder, Norrin Brovitz, Milton J. Cowan, Eva R. Friedel, Howard Harris, Nathaniel P. Kahn, Leah Leibovitz, Jules Levy, Stanley R. Mates, Ruth Obenauer, Lynn S. Ostro, Joseph Poise, Erwin Riker, Louis Rivkin, Gertrude Ruslander, Madeline Stoner, Jacqueline Wexler, Hilda Wertkin. If there's anyone else that you were thinking of today, please feel welcome to say their name aloud as my eyes meet yours.
Walter Arnheim and Richard Arnheim.
We continue with the Mourner's Kaddish, which can be found on page 294. Yikadal ve'yikadash shmei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach yirteh v'yamlich malchuteh. B'chai echon uvyom echon. Uv'chai d'chol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uzman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olmei almaya. Yitbarach v'shtabav v'pa'ar v'traman v'naseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudusha b'rihu. Leilanu kol birchata v'shirata. Tu shmechata v'nechemata. Damiram be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi shlam araba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Shalom b'rimad. Huya ase shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Zikronam livracha. May their memories be for a blessing. Please be seated. Have some announcements here for you tonight. We invite you first to join us tomorrow morning for upcoming services at Temple Sinai, not here. We will be there 8:30 in the morning for a Torah study with Rabbi Fellman, followed by 9:15 joint services and a potluck kiddush. So we invite you to contribute at a dish if you're able. And we also want to let you know about Friday, June 26th. We will be having a joint service with Temple Sinai here at Erev Shalom, and then dinner in the garden to follow. Please RSVP. I also want to let you know that upcoming this week, the 20s through 40s group is doing Picklesburg together. It's in the email Thursday at 6 p.m. I invite those of you who are able and around to sign up for that as well. And if you don't have your email in the group, let me know, and I will happily sign you up. Are there any other announcements? No? Great. We continue with Kiddush, which can be found on page 5.
Oh, fancy top here. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei puri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher krishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu. V'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'ratzon hinchilanu. Zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit. Ki hu yom techila lemikra kodesh. Zecher letziyat Mitzrayim. Ki vaynu v'chaita v'otanu kidasha kikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava u'ratzon kichaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. Amen. L'chaim.
L'chaim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min
ha'aretz. Amen. We continue on page 321 with Adon Olam.
Adon olam Hashem alach b'terem kol yitzir nivra le'it nasa b'chetzo kol azoi melech shemo nikra ve'acharei kiklot hakol levado yimloch nora v'hu haya
וצור חבלי בעת צרה, והוא ניסי ומנוסי, מנון כוזי ביום אקרא. בידו הפקירוכי בעת אישה דעירה, ואם רוחי בביאתי, אדוני לי ולא אירא.
Shabbat Shalom. Please grab a piece of challah, and there's also oneg in the, out there.
Shabbat
I don't ever know
shalom.
exactly where it is, it's out there.
Shkoyach. Beautiful.